dancing at the stores once.
Okay, well that was, actually my questions seem all really boring after that.
I was too short, so I planned the speech.
But I know that we do have some people who need to go to
And I will be staying afterwards to meet people that have the time to meet and greet.
Yeah, so. And Michael Baker, don't even think about taking my autograph. I've had there.
It's gone already.
Okay, no.
It's in my bag.
Okay. So I'll just, I'm going to plow right into this, but you used a whole lot of words. You used caring, you talked about wanting to give back. You mentioned ethics a couple of times, which is a word that's near your heart.
Emotion, love, pride.
I'm trying to get home. You used just a lot of really important words. And we all work with a lot of volunteers, and we work with a lot of big donors and small donors, and they're all equally as important. So you have great wealth, but you have a huge heart. How do we work with people like you? How do we connect with people like you?
Well, I gave away more of my wealth than anyone, so don't necessarily think it's a great reason. The heart. You know, it all comes back. Your personality is really pretty solid after age 20, just like we learn in psychology, and I see that everywhere I go. And you can, you know, and I know a lot of people that I did incredibly great things for in their life, and, you know, gave them equivalent of lots of money, and they would never really pass it on. It just wasn't in them. You know, not everybody is that way. So, but I care, you know, I notice when I see people that care about the world, that, you know, almost all young people do. When they're 10 years old, they're almost all just caring and wanting to find ways to do good. It comes from learning in school and whatever. And how do you hold on to those sort of values? Probably the school system could do a lot of good, so could parents. You know, but a lot of times parents are pushing you to make the most money and be the dentist.
You pointed out about how many of us grew up wanting to be a fundraiser. I'm okay with that one person.
But it's okay, but it's also okay to want to make a lot of money, like Steve Jobs, because, well, then you have a chance, you have a lot of choice on how it's used. So it'll come out of what you like, your personality. If you're a giver, that's how it'll come out. Eventually it does.
In your philanthropic activity, do you work with fundraisers a lot, like us, people like us?
Not a lot, just occasionally. Pretty much I'm close to home. I mean, I run into them. I mostly run into people who want money to start a company projects. I run into a little more of that. I'm more known in the technical.
Because it sounds like you actually seek out.
Yes, very often. Yeah, very often I was in control. In other words, yes, fundraisers would be talking to me, but I would want to be a certain, you know, this is an activity I believe in, and I believe in it because of you, the people, are compassionate and care. And so I would never give a gift that had any restrictions. And I've run into other people. Ran into one. One of the richest guys in Australia. He was in Perth, Australia, and he also told me, no, he never gives a restriction on his gifts.
None at all.
Yeah, because I don't want to be, I want to trust the good people that know how to do things better than me. And not, you don't have to make me feel like, oh my gosh, I had something put, so therefore I'm, I have more incentive to give.
Have you faced any challenges in giving?
No, well, maybe just minor, but like if I gave $10 million to Berkeley, I'd get the building named after me, but I only wanted to give 5. So all I got was a lounge.
Next year, so maybe.
Yeah, very important to me. I mean, Steve Jobs' great commencement speech at Stanford.
Yeah.
And Berkeley and Stanford are rivals.
Yeah. I'm sure you pointed out that to him before he passed away.
Oh, no. He well knew from, I mean, he never went to college, really. I went to Berkeley.
Oh.
We did a lot together in my dorm at Berkeley.
Okay. Before we started, very graciously allowed someone to take a picture of me with him on my BlackBerry. And I asked for permission first. Being a loyal Canadian, I haven't made the switch yet. So what's the release date for the iPhone 5? And if it's soon, I might actually.
Oh,
if I get a pre-release version,
I was hoping I would get a chance to tell you.
Okay.
But I'd have to kill you.
No pre-release version?
tell you the truth, I wouldn't know, for sure. The people that could hold it up and change it are not myself, and I wouldn't know.
Okay, okay. So staying with technology, because this is a technology conference, fascinated if you could tell us what technological innovation of the past 30 years did you not see coming that has really changed how we do things? Or was there anything?
I'd say broadband, it's availability.
Okay.
Personal computers and computers' growth there are ways to predict it. Computers have enough memory to store songs and move into video. Oh, I was predicting that very early, because those are the sort of things I did when I was young in the analog days. The internet coming, you know, we actually saw a little vague form of that internet that led me to design my terminal that became the Apple I, Apple II. So the internet being worldwide was there, but broadband to everybody was quite a surprise. Even when I jumped into the internet in the early days, I got a 3-letter .com, woz.com. But because I'm not a company, I'm more a nonprofit, I always use woz.org.
I like that.
But so I got in early, but I didn't really see the broadband coming. I paid a fortune for what was called a T1 line that universities had, and I was the king of the hill, and everybody else had dial-up. And now I'm bottom of the hill because I don't get broadband at my house, and I pay 10 times as much for my T1 line, but it's 10 times as slow.
There's something a little off on that, I'm not quite sure.
But I'm glad, because broadband for everyone really made a huge amount of change on the internet.
So was there anything that came out on the market that you thought was going to be really successful and just, okay?
Well, occasionally a product is just so strikingly artistic in a sense. We talk about Apple being the merger Steve Jobs does of technology and art is usually the visual art. We had this one machine designed with no fan called the Cube, with a little cylinder up the middle for the air to carry the heat away. Beautiful. God, it was my home computer for 2 years. I loved that machine, and Apple dropped it. You know, so a few products that were really outstanding in that way. As far as actual technologies that didn't take off, no, sometimes there was a technology start to take off, but something else would come out and be so much better in a different direction. People would go that way instead. So it's very hard. You can't really make guesses unless you can see the future too.
Well, we all wish we could see that.
Yeah, you can guess. You can
Yeah,
guess the future.
okay. So you use Twitter and Foursquare?
Actually, I use Foursquare where I check into hotels, airplane flights, things like that when I travel around the world. I check in a lot, and it shares it over Twitter and Facebook, which is a problem. I don't use Twitter and Facebook. I've got to tell you, I'm in a problem. I had these philosophies when I was 20 years old that brought me happiness, but part of it is not being closed off to the world. And so I could never allow myself to have an unlisted phone number, that sort of thing. So I have thousands of friends on Facebook and Twitter, and every time I check in somewhere, I get hundreds of little responses, and I've got to answer them all back and deal with them, and it's like, oh, my life on the internet is way heavier than it should be. So I haven't had time to go and explore how do you use Foursquare and Twitter effectively. I just use them as my little check-ins, yes.
Is there any?
And it's a very good, but it's very good. Twitter, I especially love being so short when I have been able to use it on brief occasions. I've taken myself into it. Works beautifully, but I just don't have time.
There's been a fair amount of tweeting in the last hour, by the way. From almost
Okay.
Is there any product out there that you see coming in the social media area that you think is really going to be the next big thing, the next great thing?
Well, so I'm not close enough user to really want to predict in that area. Obviously, I talk about speaking to your mobile devices. It's going to become more and more commonplace. I prefer to send emails, and if I'm in any place that I can actually speak, whatever it is, request it to navigate, want to make a phone call, I just prefer to just speak it and not think about procedures. So it's the procedures that get in the way, and I think those will start to disappear more and more with the social media. Maybe a lot of people like to tap because nobody can. It's sort of private.
Yeah. Okay. So you actually said that there were two things that you weren't good at. One was fundraising, and the other one was dancing.
Well, I'm not born.
And you mentioned that you actually were actually in a ballet. So I never saw you.
A lot of ballets. I was in a lot of ballets.
Okay. I never saw you on Dancing with the Stars. Was there a ballet?
No. I was in the San Jose Ballet.
You were in the San Jose Ballet.
Oh, yeah.
What would
Many
you like
times.
to
And
do?
I've been in a lot of musicals at the high school. I'm popular with the kids and with community plays. I'm not an actor. I can't learn lines. I can't remember them. I can't dance. I can't sing, but I wind up answering the phone saying yes.
So did you enjoy Dancing with the Stars?
Dancing with the Stars, when they called me, I knew they had made a mistake. I didn't know. I don't watch television. I don't know what it was. And I heard dancing. They screwed up. And then they worked on it for a year. And I met the producers. They were nice people. But I said no. And then they were nice people. And then I said no again. And then a friend got me to change my mind. And I jumped in the water. If you don't learn how to swim, you're going to drown. And you jump in. And right away I thought, oh my God. 6 hours a day, 7 days a week. I can't learn this stuff. I can't remember to connect the whole dance. And I'm aching so hard I couldn't feel a broken bone. From your toes to your hips, you're aching so hard. And I'm thinking, this is the worst decision I ever made. And then finally I got it down to I knew that I was going to always recover. If I made a mistake, big deal, just smile. But I was going to be able to continue and finish the dance. And then I started thinking, I'm so lucky to be such a nerd. How can a nerd? Here they are. The lights are dim. They're announcing stuff on TV, and we're about to dance. I'm not thinking about my steps at all. I'm just thinking about, I am so lucky to be here in life. How can really lucky after I've done on this show? And I smiled for the audience, and I had the greatest fun.
Were you disappointed when you?
But talk about being Mr. Nice Guy. I could have probably raised some money doing this, but at first I thought a little bag would appear in my trailer. I found out what a Star trailer was. I learned about how TV shows are made. And I think, oh my gosh, everybody in the show is going to give little gifts to everybody. I've got to do that. So I went out and I bought a bunch of bags. And I went to store after store after store in LA. You don't have much time left when you're training for Dancing with the Stars. Store after store. And I looked for these little books that had factoids of the world. You know, some little facts you didn't know. That was my favorite kind of joke book then. And I put in my little metal business card and some sheets of money that a printer makes in my hometown, Los Gatos. And I let it off the computer saying, here's how it's done, let's get to, give me your info. And then I hand wrote, for each of 27 people, the professionals and the non-professionals, hand wrote a letter telling each of them why they were good people. So I put that in there, yeah. And then the next season I told Donnie Osmond he should do that. He said, yeah, he would, but he didn't. 27 full-page letters by hand is a lot to write. They're all 1 or 2 pages.
That is.
Yeah.
Because we don't write by hand very much anymore.
Yeah. But it's personal, so it's nice. It's kind of like, giving myself as a teacher means more than giving computers to schools.
Yeah. You really talked a lot about education. I bet you're a great teacher.
That's what the students would say. And it's kind of neat because they come back in later years and they're all successful in life and they thank you for what you gave them. So I think every teacher goes through that, I'm sure.
Have you instilled in your children a sense of giving back to the community?
I do believe in forcing my values, saying here's the right way to be. So I serve as an example, and I try to pull a lot of my fame, celebrity, and being on stages out of their lives so they wouldn't see much of it. So I did a little bit, but they would hear from others that I was known for that. Not in my community, in the schools. Oh yeah, they knew it. Yeah, they were some of my own students. But so I hope they picked it up, and and I see signs of that. We'll see a little later in life. They're just getting there. They're all past. They've left the home.
Well, we'd love to have more of Steve Wozniak and the work in the world. So thank you very much. Safe travels home. Great to see you all. And don't forget about our international conference in San Diego. April 5th to 9?
7 through 9.
2013. Safe travels.